So hi everyone, my name is Teresa Senyah and I am very, very excited to be here with you this morning to talk about one of my favourite things, representation in mathematics education. So I want to thank Professor Nira Chamberlain for inviting me along today. So I'm really excited to kind of jump into this topic.
I'm very sorry. Did I just come out of that and come back in? I can see the screen at home and all they can see is the folder.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Okay, so as I said, representation in mathematics education. My name is Teresa Senyah, and this is my presentation. So the first, oh no, I can't move it on. Okay. So the place that I would like to start is with this quote. So it's quite a long quote, and I'm going to pick out a couple of bits. But I was a maths teacher, and this was a quote that was written to me by a student in 2021 when I was leaving school. So I was on my way out and I taught this class for GCSE. And in my card, my leaving card, this was written. And I had a lot of wonderfully lovely messages saying, thank you, Miss Senyah, for being a great teacher. I really enjoy maths, so I might want to go on and study A-level maths and third maths, which is great, which was my ultimate goal. But also some people did say as well, Miss, I don't really love it that much, but you made it bearable. And I also took that as a win as well. But there was a couple of quotes which really stood out to me. They were something that I wasn't necessarily expecting or something that I went out trying to achieve. And a part of this quote, so I've just pulled out a section, is, as one of the only Black teachers at a particular school, you have been so inspiring. I didn't realise how important representation was, and being able to see yourself matters until I had you. You've been a wonderful role model, and I aspire to be an intelligent Black woman just like you. Now, for me, as somebody whose main goal was just to become the best maths teacher I could be for all of my students, this really touched me. To know that I had an impact on a student in this way was something that I would never even imagine that I could have achieved and been able to do. And that really is kind of what inspired this particular talk. It was this comment in particular. So why is mathematics education so important? As I said, for me, mathematics education is so important because it starts with the foundation of the relationship that students and learners can have with maths. So this is not to say that students can't have relationships with maths outside of the classroom, but a lot of the time it starts inside the classroom, and that is what's integral. It's really important. What we want is for students and learners to really feel comfortable with maths at a young and early age, so that they feel confident with their maths. It's the difference between seeing maths as a beautiful, inspiring subject with links to lots of different topics, or it being difficult, unreachable, something that I can't do, too challenging, too hard. If we can get that foundation of the relationship between maths and the learner right, it can make the world of difference in terms of the way that they feel about maths in the classroom, but also how they feel about maths throughout life. If we want people to have maths being something which they're not afraid of or scared of, it needs to start in the classroom to make sure that they are comfortable, they are confident, and they love their mathematics, which takes me on to the effects, the confidence in maths. So to do maths, to learn maths, you have to have some confidence with you. You have to believe that you can do it, believe that you can achieve in maths. If you're not confident in it, anytime that you have any challenge, you're going to fall down. Anytime that there's something a little bit more tricky or difficult, you're going to go, oh, I can't do it, I can't achieve it, and then you're going to give up. What we want is for students to, if they see something challenging, to think, all right, I can't do it now, but I can do it in the future. All right, I might not get it at this moment, but I will. If we can get their confidence up in maths, if we can make them feel that they can do it, even if they can't do it initially, but they have the resilience to keep on learning and achieving in maths, then that's what we need. That's why it's so important to make sure that our maths education is setting those foundations. it can impact the general attitudes towards maths. So something which I'm sure that many people have heard of is people feeling very comfortable to say that they didn't like maths or didn't enjoy maths or were no good at maths at school. And that does seem to be kind of a running theme. If they have a good relationship with maths, that means that we can kind of dispel the idea that it's okay not to be good at maths or not to be confident in maths or not to like maths. With the attitudes, it can also trickle down to people's children and things like that as well. If the parents feel like, oh, it's all right, don't worry about it, you don't need to do it, it's fine, then the children will feel that, and it keeps going down generation by generation. What we really want to do is make sure that they have a positive relationship with maths, they can gain that confidence, and then they can have a positive attitude towards maths, and that positive attitude spreads across society. That's what I want. This can also influence future mathematicians, and not just mathematicians, but engineers. It can also influence scientists, people that use maths in their jobs, statisticians, etc. If they don't have a good attitude towards maths, they don't have the confidence, they don't have that positive relationship with maths, where can we expect to get the mathematicians from? Where are they going to come from? We need them. We all know that we need them, but we need them to make sure, we need to make sure that we are also producing them, and we produce them by having a strong relationship with maths education. So it's integral, it's really, really important. Now, when I was teaching a class, a year 11 class, I was teaching this foundation class, and I had started teaching them in year 11 and I'd just taken them over. So they had had quite a disruptive maths learning journey up until that point. What I did at the beginning of the year was I did some topics which I felt could really kind of get them back on board, build up their confidence like I was talking about. So we were doing a lot of shape and things that they felt comfortable and confident in, build it right up. Then I came on to this topic and I put it on the board. And there were shivers in the classroom. There was an adverse reaction to just having the word algebra put on the board. Now, at that point, as I said, I thought that I had done all of the foundation work to make sure that they felt confident enough, but just having this word on the board took them right back. You want to ask, why did it take them right back? It took them back because they've had a negative relationship with algebra throughout their learning journey. That could be in primary school, that could be at the beginning of secondary school, maybe they hadn't had teachers when they were in year 8 or year 9, so that would be from 11 to 13. Maybe they hadn't, really conquered it, maybe they didn't really understand it, whatever the case may be, this sent shivers around the classroom, and then I had to decide how I was now going to approach it because I'd scared everybody off by putting algebra on the board. What's really important, no matter what attainment level students are looking at, is that they have that confidence and positive relationship with mathematics. And since this is a maths conference, I'm going to do some maths for you right now. So we're going to solve a linear equation. And I'm going to talk you through one of the ways that I decided to teach this how to solve a linear equation with students who were not comfortable or confident with algebra. This method was derived off another math teacher that was one of my mentors when I was trained to teach, called Sarah Shepherd. She's since passed away. However, the method I thought was absolutely brilliant, and I've kind of derived in my own style from it. So this is 3x plus 5 equals to 23. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would have already got the answer in their head, and that's amazing. But if you're not sure and you don't have a great relationship with algebra, what's a great way that we can look at this? I use this and I call it the journey of x. You start with x. You times it by 3, so we've got 3 lots of x plus 5 equals to 23. So how did we get from x being on its own to 23? And then, in turn, how did we go from 23 and get back to isolating x on its own? So the first thing that we do with x is that we times it by 3. So that's what we've got on my journey. So I've got now x, now I've got 3x. And then as you can see from the equation, we've got a plus 5. So if I have got 3 lots of x plus 5, that equals to 23. Sounds great. Now, if I want to get back to isolating x on its own, the variable x, using that correct language, x is a variable, we want to find out what x is, isolate it, all of those key parts of language are really important for all students. We want to do the inverse. We want to take away 5, divide by 3. Now, what's really important here is that we are using not just the algebra, not just the method and process, but we are making sure that the students understand what they're doing. And that's what this can do. There's a lot of misconceptions that can come out when you're teaching something like this. Maybe they get the order wrong, maybe they get the sign wrong, maybe they do the wrong operation. But when you set it out like this, it's really clear what the order will be, what the sign will be, what we're going to be doing. And then the student can articulate for themselves what they're doing at each point, not just flip and switch or take it to the other side or change the sign for no reason. Here, we've got something really clear and obvious. Then we're looking at balancing the equation. Now, it's important, I believe, to make sure that we're doing things to both sides. An equation is making sure that 2 sides are equal. That's the whole point. If your 2 sides are equal, like this, when we work in primary schools, they work with scales. If you've got 3 oranges on this side and 3 oranges on that side, it should be about the same weight. If you take off an orange from one, it's going to move. If you take off the orange from the other one, it's going to go back to being equal again. So we want to make sure that they can equate both sides. You've got to do it to both. That's what's actually happening. We're taking away 5 from both sides. We know let's take away 5 first because we've got it right here, seen. Then we have 3x equals to 18. Next step, students already know what to do. Divide by 3. And then we have x equals to 6 now. What was really important for these students is that they understood every single step of the process. And what happened from this point, they did a lot of practice, we did lots of different types of equations, had that variation in there as well to make sure that they were fluent. They understood the mathematical reasoning, why they were doing things, linked it back to things that they did in primary school that they were comfortable with. And then we have students who really understand what to do. Now, what I would say is that they were doing this in year 11. Could you imagine what those students or where their students would be in year 11 if they had done this in year 5 or year 6? And they were able to articulate how to solve equations from that age. Where would they be now? How could they have grown? What type of foundation could they have built from the beginning and grown on top of in order to make sure that they were comfortable and confident with their mathematics so that they didn't have shivers down their spine when they saw algebra? Now, I'm not saying this is the only method to use. Some people, you can use colours as well, depending on whether students prefer to use colours, how they learn best, what makes it really clear for them. Highlighting certain variable might be an option as well, but what's really important is making sure that you are laying things out really clearly so that the students can articulate what they're doing and they genuinely understand how to do the maths. Okay, so that's enough maths for now. Over the weekend, I was scrolling through social media and I came across a meme, which made me think, and I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. What is this meme about? I saw this, and it said, he looks like science. I thought, oh, that's really strange. But then in the comments, a lot of people were saying, oh, yes, no, definitely, he looks like science. That's what I would expect science to look like. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting one. So this man here, I mean, he might be an incredible scientist, could be, I don't know, but why does he look like science? I then did a little Google search to see if I could find any other ones, and there was another one. At the bottom, it's a little bit small, but it says that this man looks like science. But, oh, wow, okay. I mean, again, he could be a scientist, he could be absolutely incredible, he could be doing amazing work, and he looks like science. What I would love is if someone saw this and they said, she looks like science. She looks like a mathematician. She could do it too. Now we've got these 2 guys here. This man looks like science. He looks like science. Can she also look like science? Can she also look like maths? Can she be a mathematician as well? What is representation and why is it important? So to me, representation is when you are able to see diversity in a diverse group of people, represented in different fields, going all the way up to the top of their field. It's really important to me because it means that you can see yourself in those positions and in those places. You want to maybe be able to put yourself in those places. You can see that there's a path that's been able to get there. You can see that those are the ways to go. You can see the footsteps of which have been taken, and you can take those same footsteps as well. So this is a very whistle-stop tour into my journey in maths education. So I studied A-level maths and further maths. I then went to do a degree in maths. I then went to do a PGC and Masters in Maths Education. Then I became a maths teacher, head of maths, a curriculum director of mathematics, and now I currently work in qualifications. So this was my whistle-stop tour of my journey. And I just wanted to kind of go through a couple of things that happened to me along the way. So I got to this position, but there was a few little pit stops in the middle, which I'm going to talk about. So first of all, we're going to start with A-level maths and further maths. So I loved maths at school. I was quite good at it. I did very well up to the age of 16, and I decided that I wanted to study A-level maths and A-level further maths. And that's where the problem started. Now, I've been doing very well at school in maths. There was no doubt about that. And when I said I was going to do A-level maths, people were like, yeah, sure, absolutely, that makes sense. When I said I was going to do A-level further maths, there were question marks. Why? What's the reason? I've been doing well in maths the whole time. Why would there now be a problem with me studying maths? Just more maths. But it was considered that A-level further maths was a really difficult subject, really hard, really tough. Should I be doing that? Is it going to be too difficult for me? But I was quite bold. At the age of 16, I was like, no, I'm doing it. So I took it. I was like, I'm definitely going to do it. That's absolutely fine. And I remember going into my first A-level further maths lesson, and there was about 20 people in there, and I sat down, and it was so intense, like a pin could drop. You could just feel the atmosphere. It was very, very tight. I sat down and we were doing numerical methods. I hadn't done numerical methods before, and honestly, it was horrible. I was like, this is not for me at all. It was really, really stressful. I felt like everybody else knew what was going on and I didn't. The mix of the class was like 18 boys and 2 girls, which was a different dynamic to what I was used to. And I just felt like everyone knew what they were doing, and I was the only person in the classroom who had not got a clue. So I went home to my mum and I cried. And I said, Mum, can't do it, I'm out. Like, this is it, that's it. Like, I'll just stick to maths. I'm not doing further maths, it's too hard. Everybody was right, it's going to be too difficult, it's not for me. And my mum, thankfully, I think my mum is watching, she said to me, Teresa, okay, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I just want you to go back and just try one more time. Don't give up straight away. Just go back to the class, see how it goes for the second one. And if you want to switch, you can do. So I got myself together and I went back to that class. Walked in, and from the 20 people that there was originally, there is now half the class is not there. Where have they gone? Turns out that I was not the only person in the class who felt like it was quite intense, but I was one of the only people that decided to come back. And that's the key bit. Thanks, my mum. I went back. That was the resilience. That's what we need. It's not just getting it wrong or feeling like something's too difficult initially, it's the fact that you go back. Now, I love studying A-level further maths, and I'm so glad that I did go back. But if I didn't, this journey would never have happened, because I would have been too afraid, too scared from initially, and I would have let those people's thoughts about telling me that I wasn't going to be good enough to do maths and further maths at A-level, they were going to win. So thankfully I did go back and I carried on, I studied further maths, and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't let those thoughts kind of trickle on in, but it's important to be aware of that. And also for people who are students as well, that may be listening and watching and they come across something which is difficult, there are a lot of people who have had incredible careers, and everybody's had a point somewhere where it's like, oh my goodness, am I supposed to be here? Yes, you are. You are supposed to be here. So I studied A-level maths, further maths, and I went to do a degree in mathematics. And I absolutely loved doing my degree in mathematics. But when I went there initially, my first year, you're a fresher, so you're kind of getting to know everybody, and you're going out to some of the parties and things like that, and you walk up to people and you say, oh, hi, my name is, and hi, my name is, and what are you studying? Oh, I'm studying this, or what are you studying? I'm studying that. And you're just kind of getting to know everybody. So a whole new world that's completely different, and it's amazing. It's like, you're talking to everybody and socializing with different people that you never would have spoken to before. So like the world has opened up, right? So when I was going around saying, oh, hi, my name's Teresa. Oh, what are you studying? Oh, I'm studying maths. I got a couple of looks. Well, not a couple of, quite a few looks. Oh, really? Oh, I wouldn't have expected you to have studied maths. Oh, you look like you're more of like a history student or something else. Maths, really? Oh, wow, oh, that's really difficult. Oh, that's going to be really hard. Really, really hard. Now, would anybody be saying to this guy, I don't think you should be doing maths? Would they be walking up to him and saying, oh, you're doing maths? Oh, are you sure? Really? No, no, they wouldn't. So why are they saying it to her? What's the reason? Now, was it malicious? Not necessarily. They just haven't seen it before, maybe. Maybe they haven't experienced seeing someone who looks like me doing mathematics. Maybe. But they said it. Now, when it comes to things getting difficult and tricky, doing a degree in maths, trying to go for those top grades, there are going to be some challenges, there are going to be some struggles. What you don't need when you're having those challenges and you're having those moments where you're thinking, oh, is it a bit too difficult? Is it a bit too hard? Is to have that person on your shoulder saying that, oh, I think you should be doing a different subject. I'm not quite sure. What, are you sure you're going to be doing maths? Really? It's a bit difficult, isn't it? It's a bit tricky. But thankfully, I didn't care and I carried on. And so I did maths and I studied it. I did very well in my degree. And then I moved on to do teacher training, which was great. I did a master's in maths education, which is great. Really enjoyed that. And then I became a maths teacher and then a head of maths and a curriculum director. And again, when I was a curriculum director, there was someone who had come to our school to talk about some of the things that I had put in place for some of the students who had low attainment grades but were doing quite well, or much better than people expected, and they wanted to know what I was doing, what was different. And someone came to visit in the school and we were talking about, the curriculum and what I put in place. And afterwards, not maliciously, but did say, I didn't expect you to be the head of department. Why not? Would anybody have said that he shouldn't be the head of department? I don't think so, but yet there were question marks. It's important, not only for learners and students to see themselves in those positions, but it's important for other people to see people like myself and others in those positions. That's key. Because when they see, oh, people are doing that, then those questions of, oh, really? You're doing that? They disappear. And if I do it studying a maths degree, if I studying my A-level maths and further maths, as me being a head of department at a young age, would help others not have to listen to, wow, really, you're head of department, you're studying mathematics, you're going to do A-level further maths, then that's all I could ask for. If they've seen me do it and now they know that it's something that they can do, and they've seen me do it and now they know that that's what people like me can do, and they stop with those comments, that's great, because there are so many challenges along the way that you have to deal with. Just as a challenge in general, what you don't need is those people on your back questioning whether you should even be there in the first place. Now, when it comes to representation, I watched the film Hidden Figures, which I found to be very inspiring. And these four women were kind of the focal point of Hidden Figures. So Dorothy Vaughan, Catherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Christine Darren. And they were mathematicians and engineers. And I found the film to be so inspiring because what I didn't really realize is for the first time I had seen people who looked like me making a real impact in industry with their mathematics and engineering skills and abilities. They were making a tangible difference to the NASA program at the time. And I just came out and I just felt like I was on cloud nine. I was like, goodness me, do I want to work for NASA or whatever the equivalent is in the UK? Is it time for me to take my place doing something like that? And I didn't choose to, but the fact that I was like, maybe I could, shows how powerful it is to see people like you in those positions. Now, they are called hidden figures. And really, they should probably be called impactful figures, integral figures, necessary figures, because they were necessary to what was happening and they were hidden for a reason. They were hidden so that people like myself, potentially, may not think that that's the place that I should be going to. They shouldn't be hidden. And thankfully, you know, we are starting to learn more about not just them, but things that people have been doing for decades and how impactful they've been for decades. And we're starting to uncover some of the work that's been done by mathematicians, by scientists, by engineers throughout history about what they've been doing, but they shouldn't be hidden. Just even using the word hidden, it's like it's for a reason. They've been hidden from us. And then it takes me back to this quote from one of my students. So, as one of the only Black teachers at this school, you've been so inspiring. I didn't realize how important representation was, and being able to see yourself matters until I had you. You've been a wonderful role model, and I aspire to be an intelligent Black woman just like you. It's important. It's important for that student to have seen me in that position as her maths teacher, as the head of maths at the time.
I need an extra screen. There's no way I'll do this without.
I think someone's off mute. It was important for her to have seen me in that position. It was important not only for her, but also some other students as well who were inspired to study maths and further maths who may not have necessarily done it. It was important for her to have a positive relationship with maths. It was important to have that foundation. It was important for people to know and to see that there are so many options available to mathematicians if they just want to take a chance and try it. And it's also important as well, if people don't necessarily want to become future mathematicians, but they just want to enjoy their maths at the time, that's important too. Being comfortable and confident with your maths, and maybe not necessarily taking it all the way, but choosing to, you know, have that positive relationship where later in life, you're not getting shortchanged at the shop. You're not trying, oh, I can't do, it says it's buy 3, get 4 for free or whatever, and I can't do the maths in the shop, and you freak out, or you have a panic attack or something like that. It's making sure that those things are minimized. It's making people feel comfortable with maths, not shivering when they see the word algebra, but genuinely being like, okay, right, I might not have got it the first time, but I can get it the second time. Okay, I haven't got it the second time, the third time. I'm going to keep trying. I don't mind. I've got time. It's okay. I'm going to keep having a go. That's why mathematics education to me is so important. And that's why it's also very important as well to see people like yourself doing those things, but also for society to see people like you doing it as well. Quiet out the noise and focus. So that's the main thing from me, thank you. But I wasn't sure if there was any questions, I wasn't sure of the format, so I've left a bit of time.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. Good to have everybody in the house. I was seriously outnumbered yesterday. They didn't even understand what I was saying. I said diversity, that's what I said. I was saying diversity, you know, full of Londoners here. It's good to have a Brooklyn here. So, okay, cool, excellent. Teresa, that was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm going to pose the first question. The first question. So your mom, you know, you were doing you was doing further mathematics.
Yes.
You was doing further mathematics. You're there, and you're looking all around, and you're seeing everybody like
Writing loads, yeah.
yeah, writing loads, writing loads. Now, would you say that was that a case of imposter syndrome, or would you say that was a case of what's it called, is stereotypical threat, where, or was it a case of mathematical anxiety, or was it a case of all three?
That's a good question. I think that it's kind of a little bit of everything. I think initially imposter syndrome for sure, because I wasn't going to be writing down lots of different notes about things I didn't understand. For me, maths is all about understanding. If I don't understand it, then I want to ask questions. Nobody's asking questions, everyone's just writing. I'm like, oh, goodness me. You know, you kind of just sit and you're like, oof, I don't want to be the only person to put my hand up and admit that I don't know what's going on, but everybody else is writing and writing and writing. But there is definitely that imposter syndrome. There is also something where you're in this situation, which is very intense. And it was intense because there was people in there that they didn't necessarily want to be doing the maths at the time, but they felt like they should be in there, or for whatever reason, because they dropped out and it wasn't the right path for them. But they're intense. Everybody's on edge, so no one's talking, and everyone's just, you can just feel the tension. And that's not the way that I had learnt maths. The reason why I liked maths, I always felt quite comfortable and relaxed in maths. So seeing it being so intense and so tightly gripped really was very off-putting to me. And I think that those moments, and it also actually puts me in a position of, in a place where, as someone who had, you know, enjoyed maths education throughout my entire time up to that point, it puts me in a place where students who don't necessarily have a good relationship with maths, what they might have felt in year 3 or year 5 when they were learning it, if they had that similar situation, that similar feeling. Thankfully, I'd already had a bank of years where I'd already built up my confidence, but what if I hadn't? And that's the situation. So yeah, a bit of imposter syndrome, but also there was just thinking, am I actually in the right spot?
Okay, right. Now, one of the things that we do in Black Heroes of Mathematics, sometimes we do this little wildcard, is sometimes when we have two presenters that talk about something similar or something crossover, because I remember one time we had two mathematicians talking about computational fluid dynamics, and we said, okay, you two have a conversation. So, Pavaya, come forward, please. There you go. Right, okay. So, here we go. You two have a 5 minutes conversation. Go ahead.
You want to think about maths anxiety?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
No, not your talk.
Please.
So I don't know.
So the question is, right, so you two were both talking about maths anxiety. So was there aspects of what Teresa was talking about? Was there things that you agree with, or was there things that you would challenge, or would you say it would be consistent? Yeah.
No, I think that's pretty much what happens. You might be like a child that's enjoying and having fun, and all of a sudden, that was what happened to me in the 4th grade. For the very first time, I had one low grade, and it was in maths. And I said, what? Why? What's wrong with me? That was the question. So, and then I just realized that that's another story, that teachers were using a book and they expect you to use only that example of the book. And you have other ways to solve the very same problem. So I wasn't actually solving wrongly. I was not solving the same way that it was in the book. So I think it's really important to have supports. And what you were saying about the mother was crucial, because if you have parents that are encouraging you, supporting you, and preparing you for those challenges, I think that makes all the difference.
I think what you just said about having like teaching just in one certain way. So when I've done like professional development training for maths teachers, that's kind of one of the key things, is that there isn't just one way, and there's different ways that work for different students. So as I said, like the way that I chose to teach those students how to solve an equation is the way that I felt was the best way for them to really understand what they were doing and the steps that they were doing. But if they come to me and they've got a different way of doing something, if they've used algebra squares, or they've used, algebra tiles, or they've used different methods than for me as the educator. You want to bring yourself to the students, bring the maths to the students, make sure that you're going to where they are and then building up what they know, as opposed to, I'm going to teach you a totally new, different way and confuse the knowledge and confuse their minds. And I think that's so, so important. Yeah, I did some work a couple of years ago in as a teaching fellow. So that was me teaching teachers or training teachers or supporting teachers in Ghana. And that was one of the key things, because they have limited resources. So it really is, it's a blackboard and it's a piece of chalk. And they'll just go. I mean, I thought it was, yes, but I thought it was absolutely incredible the way that they were. The students were really engaged and wanting to learn, but also making sure still that they have paired work, group work, but also bringing the maths to where the students are, and not just going through. But okay, but do we understand it? Going back, comprehension-wise, people think that comprehension isn't in maths. It can be, definitely, and it should be. Do they understand what's going on? Can they verbalize it to you? If not, then there's a breakdown and you have to go back and make sure that they understand it. So I definitely understand that one.
Okay, you have a question?
I've got a question, which I think you were both kind of talking about. I just wanted to ask it explicitly. You've been talking about, you talked about the book and you've been talking about working in qualifications. You didn't actually talk about representation in qualifications or in the book. And I wondered if you have something to say. I think you probably do. Could you talk about representation in the qualification area of your career?
So do you mean like when people are taking exams?
You
Like,
talked about visibility in some respects.
yeah,
about
but like in the actual
marketing.
textbooks and things like that?
Well, I just think in your, like, you know, someone else, you were saying you met the AQA team and that it made a real difference to you to actually talk to the people who are setting the exams. And I just think that's, you know, it may not be the same as standing in front of people in a classroom and being absolutely, okay, there's my teacher, I want to be an intelligent black woman like you. But where do you think, how do you think representation fits into that, you know, kind of strategic level of,
Yeah.
which is where you are now, right?
Yes, yeah. No, I think it's huge. It's really important. Not just for understanding of where students may be coming from, but also understanding, you know, the way that questions are asked, what's important. Do you want to get to the root of what's happening? The way that qualifications are structured. You know, are we taking away from some people? Are we not giving some people an opportunity and a chance because we've decided to structure our exam in this particular way? Are we, you know, not thinking about the diversity and inclusion if we decide to answer questions in this particular way? What types of names are we using in these examinations? What types of jobs are we using? What types of experiences are we using? There was a question where they had someone who, like in the question, they were talking about like garden patios. And it was just assuming that everybody knew about garden patios. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who live in flats and in apartments. They don't have gardens. So what you've done is there's a lot of people who are going to be like, oh, I know what a garden patio is. And I've seen, you know, my dad putting out the garden patio, my mum putting out the garden patio, or the builders come in and done it, and they've seen it happen. And you're going to have a lot of other people who haven't seen that happen. And that's really, it's a very important thing. And it's something that I know has been looked into and continues to be looked into in the qualifications field, but having people who can see that and understand that really clearly and quickly and just, oh, that's not a topic, or that's a topic that's not necessarily going to be a universal experience for everybody, is huge, just in terms of access. Because for maths, if you're doing an examination, you want to make sure that everybody has access to those questions and can actually show what they know. If they can't show what they know just because they don't know what a garden patio is, you're not testing or you're not trying to find out what they know. You're now doing a general knowledge quiz based on how they live, which is a completely different ballgame. So it's very, very important.
Yes, I would say that in psychology, when we are creating instruments like cognitive tasks and questionnaires, we are always concerned about the words we are using, the images that we are using. So this is very important because, again, if you don't have the knowledge, it's a cultural thing, it's not a capacity or intellectual ability to do things. So you are really mixing things. But I suppose her question was also tackling on the leadership that you have, your position, that's the position of leadership in terms of potential to influence decisions. And I think that's something would be nice to hear.
I mean, no, but it's a really important thing. I think that there are lots of people there's one person I have in my mind in particular, who is the VP of Vocational Qualifications. She's also a mentor as well. She's incredible in terms of what she oversees, which for her is vocational qualifications. And so it's BTECs, it's which have engineering BTECs, accounting and finance, and all of those different things, all the way up until HNs. So that's higher nationals, higher national degrees, higher national diplomas, higher national certificates. So she oversees all of them and has a real genuine passion for vocational qualifications and does quite a lot of talks on them. Her name's Donna, so I can find her for you as well. But she is in a great position of influence. And just again, as myself being in the company, seeing somebody in that senior position is very helpful for me.
Yes.
You know, I mean, yes, I've got to this position in my career, but this is not over. There's still other places to go. There's other things that I want to do and see. And I think that she is, you know, really someone that I've looked up to. There's also a couple of other people as well in different parts of the business, but there is representation within the business, which is very important for people like myself. I mean, for some people, I will be the person they're looking to, but then also for myself, there's people that I'm looking to who are decision makers, who are making a real difference in terms of the way that the qualifications are structured strategically, what qualifications should we be doing, where are the needs, in terms of different industries, and then how can we tackle those as well. So yeah, from that perspective, there is, but it's important. It's integral, I think. Yes.
Okay, we have one more question. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's see with it. Yeah, let's see with it how fast we can go. Right.
Okay.
You sure? Yeah. Okay. Go.
So Teresa, so my question about the further master is looking back from where you are now, whether you find fault with that teacher, like whether you can see things that should have been done differently in that numerical methods lesson, just stop half the class from dropping out after the first day.
Oh, no, that teacher was incredible.
Yeah.
He was amazing. He was a really, really supportive teacher. What had happened was it was something new for everybody, which isn't a bad thing. It's not bad for things to be challenging for everybody. What makes the difference is whether you want to come back and try it again. Now, I don't know everybody else's story and why they didn't choose to come back. I'm not 100% sure on what their reasons were, why I chose, why they didn't choose. But I don't think it's necessarily a fault on my teacher particularly. What you could maybe say is, I'll probably quick. What you could maybe say is that, you know, if you had started with a different topic, would that have been maybe a bit more comfortable for everyone initially? Potentially. But then are you just delaying the inevitable if it's not necessarily something that people want to do? So no, I wouldn't fault the teacher for it at all. He was very, very supportive, especially when I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was like, okay, so I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. He was right there. It depends. If you come and you say, I don't know what I'm doing, and he gives you some advice that this is what it's going to look like, and then you go, actually, I don't want to do it, then that's quite powerful too, to make that decision for yourself.
So there was one bit of your talk that caught me that just like you mentioned that when you were director of curriculum, somebody came up to you and said, I didn't see you in that role. And particularly you said that it wasn't malicious, which, you know, I totally believe, but I'm just then wondering what it was, because I mean, I've been, you know, when I go to do maths, it's assumed I'm there to do sports. And, you know, I've had a child actually say, oh, you're here to do maths, you'd be good at sports too. You didn't know me at all, but, you know, and he was totally not malicious. There was a naivety there. I'm just wondering what it was then. If you have a sense of...
It's just unfamiliarity, not seeing somebody like who looked like me at the time. And I was reasonably young as well, I suppose. It's just not being able to compute, this is what I expect somebody to look like doing something like this. And you don't fit that bill. It's not necessarily anything against you or that you can't do what you're doing, because anyone who was able to work with me, thankfully, knew that I knew what I was talking about. but it was just that unfamiliarity originally, just to go, oh, you don't look like what I'm expecting. You said it in sports. In sports, you know, Black people are very well represented. So the idea of seeing a Black person running, doing sports, yeah, that makes sense. This is what I see. I'm familiar with this, as opposed to I'm not familiar with someone looking like you in this position of leadership. Yeah.
Yes.
I suppose I'm more thinking, was it naive? Because it's not an easy thing, you know, I think most people would be aware that they're crossing a line by saying something. Right, because
Yeah, it probably was a bit of naivety, because where this was, it probably was a bit of naivety and really just like curiosity, I think, actually, in terms of what was your journey? How did you, how did this happen? How did you get here? It wasn't malicious, but it was intrusive. You know, it wasn't like I was comfortable with the situation, but it wasn't malicious in terms of coming from a bad place. I think it was genuinely just a curiosity to understand what
This
have
is
you
unusual.
done? Yeah,
And they
I
were
haven't
comfortable
seen it
enough to-
before. Yeah,
Comfortable enough to, yeah.
yes.
Because I think that's rare, isn't it? That
Mm.
you have somebody who's
Actually to
comfortable and
say.
can do it without them, that is.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know how to make a compliment as well, so bear it in mind.
Yeah.
But I would say that TV is amazing, showing us in the music, in the sports, and dancing, right? So that's what everybody's expecting from us, and that's one problem.
And in academics, history and social sciences.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
And on that, well, I have to say, well, first we're going to have our late speaker. Thank you very much indeed for that, you know, that talk. And thank you for the